Hello, my sweet friends, and welcome to Kinda Shabby. My name is Becky, and I am so glad you stopped by. Today, I have 3 quick and easy Follow Ween home decor projects that I know you're going to love. Well, there's lots of fun in store today, so let's get these projects started. For our first Follow Ween projects, we're going to be making over these 2 picture frames that I've had in my stash for quite some time. I'm going to start by giving this one a coat of paint in the color Plaster. And I'm using a damp sea sponge to just pounce that on because this is pretty shiny and I want that to be able to stick to this surface. And while the first coat on our first frame is drying, we're going to come back and give this one a coat of paint in black. Today's video is a Shabby Chic Fall and Halloween collaboration with our host Jody at Southern Seasons, Annie from Crafting with Indie Annie Jones, Myra at Farm Fresh Designs 59, and Dawn with Shabby Meets Bling. Links to the playlist as well as each lady's channel is found in the description box below. And now that our paint is dry, I'm going to be sealing it in with some wax. And for our plaster colored picture frame, I'm using Amy Howard at Home Light Antique Wax. And then I'm just going to lightly go over our frame. It adds just a little touch of a nice antiqued look. And now we're going to come back over the top and I'm just going to buff that in and remove any of the excess. After applying the wax, it still has some of the wax settled into those low areas there, and it has just a nice soft sheen to it. And now I'm taking the Rub and Buff in European Gold. I'm going to apply just a little bit to my finger, and where all of these highlights are, I'm just going to rub over those, and it just highlights those details so much. Absolutely gorgeous. And so there we go. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. So pretty. So I went outside and I used my Elmer's spray adhesive, and I took some heavy-duty cardstock and applied some duck cloth to that. Now your duck cloth looks extremely similar to drop cloth, but it is much thinner, and it's also available in just a wide array of colors and little gorgeous prints as well. Next, we're going to be applying a transfer from the Iron Orchid Designs transfer book, Lover of Flowers. And so I am going to be using the daisies. That is just so cute. Of course, my dog is named Daisy, and I think that the colors in there are also going to work well for our fall-themed projects. And I get all of my Iron Orchid Designs products from my friend Kimberly at My Victorian Heart, and I will be sure to link her website for you below. Your transfers consist of a white paper backer, and then you have your top gridded sheet that has that image on there. I'm going to remove the paper backer. See how I want this to lie, and I think that looks good. Make sure I don't have any bubbles in there. Your transfer package also comes with a transfer tool, and it is just a thick plastic material that you're going to use to burnish that design onto your surface. And I'm just going to start from the middle here and just kind of rub and work my way out. Then I'm going to pick up the corner and start rubbing and pulling to make sure that I am getting that all fully transferred to my fabric below. I'm just going to keep rubbing and pulling back on that gridded carrier sheet until I have all of this image transferred to my fabric below. And now I'm going to take just a little piece of this transfer sheet and gently rub over just to make sure everything is stuck to the fabric below. Now I had intended to put this pretty little daisy poem over here, but I think that it would cover up too many of the flowers. So I put the backer on, and I'm not going to put the glass in. I think I like it just like that. Isn't that pretty? And that's going to be gorgeous in a little fall vignette. And now we're going to do our Halloween picture frame. And now we're going to come back over our black picture frame with some dark antiquing wax. I'm going to start applying that in a circular motion. And now I'm taking a paper towel and just wiping back, trying to get off most of that excess. And then I'll come back in and buff it with my microfiber towel. So once again, I'm putting a little bit of that rub and buff on my finger. And we're going to pounce and hit those highlights. And we're going to highlight this beaded detail here too. And I also just randomly kind of rubbed around the face of the frame too, and also on the sides. I really like how that turned out. We're going to be using several images that I purchased off of Etsy. And this is from the shop called My Porch Prints, and this is her pink Halloween junk journal collection. And I'll have all of her information linked for you below. I want to age the edges a little bit, so I'm taking my Iron Orchid Designs ink in black and just a sponge brush. And then I'm going to smudge that over the edges. And you can see how that just gives a nice little vintagey look there. I'm going to lightly run it over the top. And there we go. That is super duper cute. I'm going to put the glass behind there so I don't lose it and pop this in. And that would look cute in a little Halloween vignette just like it is, but I want to add something that I saw on Pinterest. So I'm going to take a piece of a doily and a plastic spider. Okay, so I've clipped off the excess there. And how shabby chic is that? It's adorable. So I'm going to use some double-sided tape and just put a little bit, just enough to hold this up. Tuck in our spider. Isn't that adorable? I love what we've done so far, so let's go ahead and move on to our next project. For our next fun little project, we're going to be taking these laser cut wood slice ornaments that I get off of Amazon, and we're going to use our Mod Podge, and we're going to decoupage more of those cute little images onto our little ornaments here. And they're going to be double duty because we're going to be doing a fall theme on one side and we're going to be doing Halloween on the other. I also went ahead and painted both sides with the Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. To print my images, I used just regular tissue paper that you get in the gift wrap section, and I got mine at Walmart. I used a dry iron to get the wrinkles out of the paper, and I laid it on the front and I taped it down on the back and just sent that through the printer. So it is going to be a gorgeous little decoupage paper for us to apply to these cute little ornaments. So I'm going to begin by cutting these away from my cardstock. Decide how I want that to look on my ornament. So I'm going to hold this to the side, apply a nice even coat of the Mod Podge, making sure I get all the way to the edges because you don't want that pulling up at the edge. And then start in the middle and work my way out. Lay that over, apply more Mod Podge. And then work my way out. I'm going to get some water on a little brush here, and I'm just going to go around the edges so I can tear off all of that remaining paper so I can put this image on my next ornament. This side over here is still pretty wrinkled, so I'm just going to take my finger inside a sandwich bag and just kind of push down very gently on that paper. Try and eliminate some of those wrinkles. So we're going to let that one dry. I'm just going to take a few minutes and finish applying the rest of my fall images to the fronts of my little ornaments here. These all turned out so super cute. Now that they're all dry, I just love them. I'm just going to take some sandpaper and go around the edge, and you want to do it in a downward motion so you don't rip the paper, just to eliminate all of that excess paper from the sides. Then I'm going to take some small scissors and then run that through there to get rid of the paper in those areas. And I'm going to snip off a corner of my sandpaper here and just roll that up, and then I can get in there and get the remaining paper off. To make sure that I don't damage this side of the ornament when I do the Halloween side on the back, I'm going to do it just a little differently. I'm not going to be using my water. I'm going to decide how I want it to lie on my ornament, and then run my finger around the edges to get the impression. And so now I can cut, leaving a little bit of extra all around the outside. Then place it back over my ornament. Then we can add our Mod Podge just like we did on our other ornaments. Look at those gorgeous images. I love this so much. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side of the ornaments in each of these gorgeous little printables here, and then we'll come back and do some embellishing. So I am really pleased with how our little Halloween side turned out too. These are such pretty graphics. Very nice. I love how all of those turned out. So super cute. And now we are going to be using black ink and also some brown ink, and this is in the color Coffee, just to add a little bit of drama around the outside edges. Just like that. And then I'm going to take the brown ink, just adding a little bit to those outside edges, giving it a little bit of an antique-y look. I like that. Then we're going to come back in with our rub and buff, and I don't like those raw edges there. So we're just going to hit those with some of that gold rub and buff. And that is going to complete these little ornaments. I think that's going to be so pretty. So I found it a little difficult to get my finger in there to put any of that rub and buff on. So I ended up just using one of my copper paint pens, and it actually was much easier and much quicker to do than just using my finger. So when I am hanging my ornaments on the fall side, I have chosen this beautiful ivory colored chiffon, and it already has these gorgeous little tattered edges, just beautiful. And I get this off of Amazon, and I will link that for you below. And Mr. Shabby has some branches that he got for me, so I'll be hanging these from some branches. And I think that is just so pretty. I love those tattered edges, very shabby chic. For the Halloween side, this is just some black fabric that I had in my stash, and I think that the black is just really pretty to go with all of those elements for Halloween. Well, I am really pleased with how our little ornaments turned out, and I love the fact that they are double-sided and they will work double duty, so you have less to store at the end of the season. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our next project. For this next project, we're going to be making a cute little double-sided banner for my mantle, and we're going to start with the fall side first. I'm taking a 12 by 12 sheet of scrapbook paper, and I'm going to use my paper trimmer and cut it into 4 equal pieces. Next, I'm going to use this little paper punch that's going to give us a cute little decorative finish to each of the corners here. Isn't that cute? Next, I'm taking this 3.5 inch punch, and I'm going to be cutting 4 of these from my craft paper cardstock. Just like that. Next, I am using the Iron Orchid Designs Typesetting Stamp Collection and my ink in the color Coffee, and I'm going to be stamping the letters to spell the word fall on my little circles here. And I'm going to hover over and make sure I'm in the center, and then just walk my fingers over the stamp, making sure that I get a good impression and the ink transfers to my paper below. These are going to look really cute on that paper. Next, I'm going to take some double-sided tape, and I'm going to run a couple of strips on the back of these, and it needs to be 1.25 inches away from each edge to be in the middle. And now I'm going to come up to the top here. I've got that little hole in there, so I'm going to come in 1 inch from each side and make a little mark with my pen. I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to take just a regular hole punch and punch those at the top. And now that I have those punched, I'm just going to use that as a guide and lay it on top of my other pieces and punch that through all the others. So everything is in the same spot. And now I'm going to come down to the bottom. I'm going to come in 2 inches. And we're going to punch those holes as well. Use that as my template. Place that over the top. So I took some natural cotton muslin and I snipped and ripped a piece that is 1 inch wide and it is 5 feet long, and that's what we're going to be using to hang these pieces. And so I'm just going to thread this on, and this is how it will look when I hang it on the fall side. So we're going to just do that same thing and thread on all the rest of our little cards here. Well, we're going to do something very similar to the bottom, because again I have snipped and ripped some cotton muslin, and this time it is 3/4 inches wide and 24 inches long. And we're going to come down to those holes in the bottom here. Pull them through and center them up. And then we're going to just tie a cute little bow. And just look how cute and shabby chic that is. I love it. So super cute. And now we're going to do the other side for Halloween. I am taking another piece of 12 by 12 cardstock, and again we're going to be cutting this into 4 equal pieces. Taking our decorative edge punch and making all of those cuts on each corner. Again, we're going to be using our large 3.5 inch scalloped circle punch and black cardstock, and I'm going to cut out 4 of those. I'm again using the typesetting stamp, and I'm going to spell out the word boo, but I'm also going to be using the uppercase I as well as the lowercase I. I'm going to use the dot off of the lowercase I to make an exclamation point on my last little scalloped disc here. I don't have any white ink, so I put a little bit of the linen white chalk paint on my palette here, and I'm going to take my brayer and run that across there until I get a nice thin layer on my brayer. Run that over my letter. Line that up and press it down just as if I were using ink. So cute! Get more paint on my brayer and run it over my capital I and my lowercase I. Then I'm going to wipe away what I don't need. I'm going to use my brush to paint on a little more on that dot. And that looks better. And I'm going to go wash this off. Again, I don't like ink or paint drying on my stamps, my brayer, or my palette. I'm going to use this piece as my template to punch all those holes in, again, so everything is in the same place. We're going to apply our double-sided tape on the back of our scalloped disc. And we're going to measure, make sure it's all in the center. And now I'm taking this one and turning it around. So the last L in fall is actually going to be the B in boo. And then I'm going to take my double-sided tape again and run that down the back of each of these pieces. And then I'm going to stick these two together. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the rest of my pieces here. I'm using the same snipped and ripped fabric at the top to hang this, but for the little bows at the bottom, I'm using some strips of cheesecloth, and that's just going to give it a nice little creepy look there. Thread it through and tie our bows. And I really like our little cheesecloth bows at the bottom. Adorable. Well, now all I need to do is style everything to give you a closer look at how cute all of this week's projects turned out. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been my pleasure to craft with you. Please remember to visit our playlist, and until next time, my sweet friends, be blessed.